go back to Britain. And all of the choreography around the awards were odd. Venus Williams seemed to be shooting her the evil eye. What did you make of what was going on and how they could have messed this up so badly?
Harry was in a terrible state about it. Backstage, he was absolutely distraught about what he should do and what he shouldn't do.
This wasn't just another glitzy Hollywood awards show. This was a calculated move. For Harry and Meghan, the ESPY Awards were meant to be a strategic strike, a way to cement Harry's new identity in America, not as a runaway royal, but as a respected war veteran and global humanitarian. This was meant to be the jewel in the crown of his American reinvention. The award he was receiving, the Pat Tillman Award, is one of the most prestigious honors in the American military community. It's named for an NFL star who gave up a multi-million-dollar contract to serve in the U.S. Army after 9/11 and who tragically died in Afghanistan. This award isn't given lightly. It's about integrity. It's about sacrifice. It's about walking away from glamour to answer a higher calling.
You know, he's got to a terrible down stage where the only way he can actually feel he's powerful is to shout and scream.
For Harry, winning it was supposed to be a home run, a way to connect with the American public on a level that had nothing to do with his royal past. It was supposed to be his validation, a powerful symbol that said, "I am more than just a title. I am a man of service." Instead, it became his reckoning.
The first thing you showed was, you know, they say they want their privacy, and there they are doing endless.
To understand the collapse, you have to understand the man at the center of it. Prince Harry is a man living in two different worlds. In one, he's still the beloved soldier prince, the cheeky rebel of the royal family, the founder of the Invictus Games, who turned his personal trauma into a global movement for wounded warriors. He was Diana's son, the people's prince, the one who seemed to carry his mother's effortless connection with the public. But in his new world, he's a different character. He's the guy who quit the monarchy, moved to a Montecito mansion, and signed 9-figure deals with Netflix and Spotify. He's the man who put his family on blast in a tell-all memoir and a tearful Oprah interview. He's a walking contradiction, a prince who rejected privilege, but now lives a life of unimaginable luxury, funded by the very stories of the family he left behind. He preaches about environmentalism while flying on private jets. He demands privacy while selling his most intimate moments for millions. And then there's Meghan, the master strategist, the one who, according to insiders, choreographs every public appearance, every interview, every Instagram post. She's the buffer between Harry and the world, the one who controls the narrative, the one who understands that in Hollywood, perception is reality. She is both his greatest champion and, some say, the architect of his isolation. But on this night, Harry decided to go it alone. He wanted to prove he could own the stage himself, and without his buffer, the world saw something that was never meant to be seen. The moment the news broke that Harry would receive the Pat Tillman Award, the backlash was swift and brutal. The question echoed across social media and in military circles. Harry, for what? Veterans groups were stunned. Commentators were merciless. Even members of the Tillman family were reportedly blindsided and deeply uncomfortable with the choice. What extraordinary service and sacrifice had Harry demonstrated from his California mansion? Was it the Zoom calls from his perfectly appointed home office? The Netflix docuseries that felt more like a reality show? The podcast that got canceled after one season, with a Spotify executive famously calling them effing grifters? The decision reeked of Hollywood politics, a backroom deal designed to give Harry a PR win. It felt unearned. It felt like a slap in the face to the everyday heroes the award was meant to celebrate. The Sussex camp, however, doubled down. Meghan's team went silent, a classic move when they want to let a story breathe and build anticipation. And Harry, well, Harry showed up. He walked the red carpet alone. No Meghan, no kids. Just Harry, in a suit that seemed a little too tight, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Insiders later described his small team from Archwell as looking tense, nervous. His new PR rep, fresh on the job, looked like they were already regretting their contract, their eyes darting around as if expecting an ambush at any moment. Then came the moment. As Harry's name was called, the applause in the room was polite. It wasn't a roar. It wasn't electric. It was the kind of polite, scattered clapping you give when you're not sure if you're supposed to be impressed or just confused. The air was thick with a mixture of curiosity and cringe. He walked to the stage, clutched the award, and began to speak. And that's when everything started to fall apart. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. His speech was a jumble of pre-approved talking points. He thanked his team, he referenced his work with Invictus, he even managed to drop the names of a few corporate sponsors, a move that felt jarringly commercial for such a solemn award. But according to royal biographer Angela Levin, who has followed Harry for years, something was deeply, visibly wrong. You could see it in his eyes, she said later, the tremble in his voice. He was sweating through his suit jacket. The confident, charismatic prince was gone. In his place was a man who looked haunted. Clips from the speech went viral almost immediately. The internet, as always, was unkind. Social media users created brutal supercuts, zooming in on his trembling hands as he gripped the microphone. They dissected every awkward pause, every moment he seemed to lose his train of thought and stare blankly into the teleprompter. TikTokers synced his rambling moments of silence with sad violin music. The man who once commanded armies and charmed nations now looked like a lost little boy, drowning under the weight of the spotlight. The confident prince was gone, replaced by a man who looked fragile, broken, and utterly alone. But what the cameras didn't show you, what the viral clips couldn't capture, was what happened the moment he walked off that stage. That's when the real collapse began. Backstage witnesses say Harry was visibly shaken. He was muttering to himself, his face pale. One anonymous crew member later said on a podcast, he wasn't angry, he wasn't arrogant. He just looked like a guy who realized in real time that this wasn't the win he thought it would be. It was like watching the air go out of a balloon. He reportedly left the event early, dodging the press line and skipping the exclusive after-party completely, an unheard-of move for an award recipient. His team gave the usual excuse, an early flight. But insiders say he went straight back to his hotel, turned off his phone, and for 48 hours he went completely dark, refusing calls even from his closest aides. Angela Levin says this behavior isn't new, but the context is. Harry has always struggled with pressure, she explained. But Meghan was the buffer. She choreographed these events, she handled the image control. Without her there, he's exposed. And that night, his exposure was total. The ESPY Awards didn't just reveal a prince under pressure. It revealed a man confronting a painful truth, not just in front of the public, but in front of himself. The applause felt hollow because deep down, he knew the award felt hollow too. Imagine being Harry in that hotel room. The award, that golden statue that was supposed to be his redemption, now feels like a weapon. The spotlight he once craved now feels like a harsh interrogation. He scrolls through his phone and all he sees are memes mocking his breakdown. The hashtags are brutal. Hashtag Hollywood Harry, hashtag Prince of Pity, hashtag ESPY Fail. He tried to curry sympathy during his speech, talking about Meghan, but it came off as grim and tone-deaf. He was trying to play the hits, to remind people of the love story, but the audience wasn't buying it anymore. They didn't want another chapter of the Sussex soap opera. They wanted to see a man worthy of the award he was holding, and they didn't. This is the emotional payoff, the moment a celebrity's carefully constructed narrative collides with public reality. For years, the Sussex brand has been built on a currency of victimhood and emotional transparency. But what happens when the public stops feeling sorry for you? What happens when your vulnerability starts to look like weakness? For a man shaped by a life of duty and public service, the realization that he had lost the respect of the very people he sought to inspire must have been a brutal blow. He couldn't buy redemption with a fancy award. It had to be earned. And standing on that stage under the glare of those lights, he was starting to realize he hadn't earned it. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, Meghan's camp was reportedly scrambling. Press releases were drafted, then deleted. Stories were leaked suggesting that funding issues had delayed their next documentary, not the public backlash. Archwell's Instagram was suddenly flooded with pictures of sunlit architecture and yoga retreats, a desperate attempt to pivot the conversation to wellness and serenity. But you can't fool the public with hide-and-seek tactics. The silence from Meghan, the woman who is never silent, was deafening, and it signaled one thing: retreat. The queen of narrative control had lost control of the narrative. And here's the final twist, the one that changes everything. According to sources close to the couple, Meghan never wanted him to go. She reportedly advised against the event from the start, not because she thought it was beneath them, but because her strategic mind, her finely tuned PR antennae, knew it wouldn't land well. She warned him. A source claims she said, "This will backfire. You're not ready. The public hasn't forgiven us yet. This looks like you're trying to buy credibility." But Harry insisted. He needed this. He believed he could turn the narrative on his own. He wanted to be seen as a hero again, not a runaway prince with a ghost-written memoir and a podcast graveyard. He wanted his Invictus moment, American style. He wanted to prove that he didn't need the royal family, that he could be a global figure of respect on his own terms. And that might be the most heartbreaking part of this entire story. This wasn't just a PR disaster, it was a personal miscalculation, born from a deep-seated need for validation. It was the moment Harry tried to step out from behind Meghan's shadow and prove he could command a stage on his own. And he failed. For a man who once had all the goodwill in the world, standing on that ESPY stage was a stark reminder that public opinion doesn't bend forever. Especially when people remember the privilege, the multi-million-dollar deals, the contradictions, and the endless self-pity packaged as courage. The award was supposed to be a badge of honor. Instead, it became a symbol of everything that's unraveling. A painful public reminder that you can leave the royal family, but you can't escape the weight of your own choices. So what happens now? The memes have already outpaced the headlines. YouTubers are splicing the footage into reaction videos. Commentators are speculating about the next crisis move. Will there be another apology tour, another Netflix tell-all about the tell-all? A surprise Meghan podcast drop, ironically titled Unfiltered? For now, Harry has gone quiet, and the silence is louder than any speech he could ever give. Angela Levin warns that this is just the beginning. Harry is cracking, she says. And unless something changes soon, he won't just lose the public, he'll lose himself. There are whispers that a reckoning is underway inside Team Sussex, that advisors are urging a total recalibration, no more trophies, no more tear-drenched interviews. The only way forward, they argue, is through real work, real silence, and real service. He needs to stop chasing applause and start earning respect again, without a camera in sight. It's a long, hard road back from a public fall from grace, and it's a road you have to walk alone. The once invincible prince fell, and how he recovers, or if he recovers, will define the entire Sussex story moving forward. What do you think? Was this a momentary breakdown, or the beginning of the end for Brand Sussex? Let's talk about it in the comments.